And authors Penny Avis and Joanna Berry are using their own experiences of working as a high-flying lawyer and an accountant in Manchester to write a 4-part series, 4 books, which follows 4 different women working on the takeover of a cosmetic surgery business. The book, the series, is called Never Mind the Botox, and they began by telling me how their writing partnership started.
Well, Penny and I were both at a stage in our careers where we were thinking of career breaks, and we were having Sunday lunch at Penny's house one day, and Penny said, I was wondering about the idea of writing a book about what goes on in the city. And bizarrely, I'd had a similar thought probably 10 years previously about writing a book about a lawyer who meets her other half over the boardroom table. And we went from there, really, and we started plotting a book and realised there was so much material and so many bizarre and funny people that we'd met during our time working in the city that there probably was enough for at least 2 books, and then it grew from there into 4. So that's how it started.
Yes, the first one is out now, Never Mind the Botox, but as you say, it's the first of a series of 4. Now, this is really ambitious, isn't it, for unpublished authors?
It is. We certainly took on a large project. One of the things we saw, actually, was that writing from different perspectives in women's fiction hadn't really been done before, and we thought that the model of showing a central story from 4 different perspectives, a bit like Canterbury Tales, if you like, the lawyer's tale and the doctor's tale, was quite a novel way of looking at things, and we felt that also 4 women was a really interesting concept because you can make characters very different that different people can sort of, aspire to or recognise, and we went from there.
On the front of your book, it says a fierce and fabulous injection of high-flying London life, which is a very nice quote. Very nice quote to have on the front. But how would you categorise the book?
It's women, contemporary women's fiction, so we see it as it's in the chick lit genre, but it is fast, pacey, summer holiday reading for women who care a little bit more about than just shoes and shopping.
Nothing wrong with shoes and shopping, though, it has to be said.
There is a little bit of shopping in there.
Thank goodness for that. I know there is more to life. Did you think, then, that there were unrealistic role models in contemporary fiction?
It wasn't so much that they were unrealistic, it's just that we felt that our lives that we'd experienced were not represented out there, and that quite often the women that we were reading about weren't particularly successful in their careers, and that the stories would focus more on their personal lives and personal journeys than their careers. And we felt that there's an awful lot of women out there who are holding down, jobs for whom their career is a very important part of their life. And we wanted to represent women who, did have proper jobs, were working hard, and for whom their careers was a very important part of their life. Having said that, obviously there is a big part of the book which is about their personal love lives and how they intertwine with what goes on for them at work.
So, obviously there are 2 of you. How does that work as far as writing the book? And you don't live in the same city either.
No, we don't. When we decided we were going to write 4 books from these 4 different perspectives, we sat down and did some characterisation first, because all of the good stories start with great characters. And so we designed together the 4 characters, in great detail, down to what they looked like, where they lived, the detail if you went into their house and opened their fridge, what would they have in it. So we could really sort of recognise them and see what they would be like. And then we plotted the 4 stories, because basically each book has to teach the readers or show them something new. You can't just repeat the same story 4 times. So we had to, they all start at different points in the deal. And then we had a structure, and then we took primary responsibility for drafting a complete book, so to get into character. So Jo took primary responsibility for drafting Alex because she has a legal background, and I took primary responsibility for drafting Rachel because of my accounting background. And then we just sort of would write at the same time, cross-editing each other's work, but sort of writing on the central story that the 2 of us had designed. So we sort of knew what we were writing sort of before we started.
Are you competitive with each other? What happens if the first book of the series, Alex, is more successful than the second, Rachel?
I don't think we are competitive. In terms of the writing process, it was very useful having 2 of us, because Penny would phone me up and say, I've written 3,000 words today, or probably more realistically 3,000 in a couple of days, and I'd be thinking, I've only written 2, and it would help egg each other on. In terms of the success of the series, no, not at all, because I don't view Alex as my book, I view it as our book, because it really was a collaborative process, and whilst I might have been the one who put pen to paper initially with Alex, it's very much a combined effort. So no, I don't think we feel that at all.
Looks like a good book, I have to say. I haven't read it yet, but I am going to at some stage when I get a few moments. Called Never Mind the Botox. More from the authors of that on the way this afternoon. Hearing from authors Penny Avis and Joanna Berry about their series of books, Never Mind the Botox. They've used their own experience working as businesswomen in Manchester. They came up with 4 books following a lawyer, an accountant, a cosmetic surgeon and a banker going into business together. I asked the pair about Alex. She's the main character in the first book of the series.
Well, she's a lawyer. She's in her late 20s. She's doing really well in her career. She's very motivated and driven. She's not come from a privileged background where it was always destined that she'd be a lawyer, so she's very much a self-starter. She's heading towards partnership at the firm that she's at, doing really well, and she needs to really get another deal under her belt for her career to progress. In terms of her personal life, she's kind of a one-man woman. She's been with the same boyfriend for quite a long time, and they're heading towards marriage, but it has to be said that she has some doubts about that relationship. And that comes clear in the book. She meets a hot junior lawyer on the deal, and all sorts of dilemmas start to develop both personally and professionally surrounding him.
So where does the Botox come in?
Well, the Botox comes in because Alex, the lawyer, and Rachel, the accountant, and Stella, who's the cosmetic surgeon in book 3, and then Meredith, the banker, in book 4, are all working on the sale of a cosmetic surgery business. So in the course of the book, Alex starts to uncover what's going on at this cosmetic surgery business. So she's basically selling the company, and as she's selling it, she's finding out all the interesting things about the business, so the kinds of procedures that happen, and she also uncovers some dodgy goings on. There's an out-of-hours surgery that's going on at the clinic, which involves all sorts of celebrities. So Botox in the title is a reference to the business that they're selling.
So obviously the pair of you have had to research the cosmetics industry, haven't you?
We have.
So there's nothing you don't know then about breast enhancements and fillers and collagen and all that kind of thing, and I suppose the less usual ones as well. So obviously the question is, what work have you two had done?
Well, I have to say that neither of us have had anything in terms of actual work, but what we had to do was actually understand a great deal about the industry, from, as you say, from a standing start. And we spent a long time researching and understanding what the industry was like, because one of the important things when you're looking at it from a business perspective is what's growing, what's new, what's coming over from the States, what are most people having done, and what are the trends. And that's what we had to get to the bottom of. And what we found is there are some really weird and wonderful procedures coming over from the States.
What? Give me some examples of those. We just want to know.
Oh, well, there's toe tucks, which is having your toes reshaped to fit into designer sandals, which includes having your little toe made narrower or your second toe made smaller, and also having Botox injected into your armpits to stop sweating before you go to, say, an event. The issue with that is that your body has to get rid of sweat anyway, and it tends to appear somewhere else if it doesn't come out under your arms in some quite unpleasant places, so it can be a bit of a false economy.
I can understand really why you say you haven't had any work at all. After all that research, it could have put you off. So as far as you're concerned, Joanna, you were responsible, or primarily responsible, for Alex, the first book. Obviously, Alex is a lawyer. Did you personally fall out of love with law?
No, I didn't fall out of love with law, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed all my time as a lawyer. I just reached a point where I felt I wanted to do something different. I've got 3 young children, so I was having the perpetual problem that women have of juggling my career with my home life. And I just reached a point where I had a natural break. And I think the conversation that I had with Penny was sort of crystallised that, really. And we both decided to try something new. We're both quite entrepreneurial, so we thought we'd give it a go. It's not to say I might never go back to being a lawyer. Maybe I will.
Well, it's there, isn't it, on the shelves, in bookshops, in a bookshop near you. That must feel fantastic.
It's great, yes.
It does. It's what we talked about right from the beginning, actually. It's been, the dream we talked about. One of the things we talked about a lot was visualising success and what would that look like. And we talked about walking into a bookshop and seeing one of our books on the desk. And just last week we were on the recommended summer reads table at Waterstones, and I had to take a photograph of it and send it to my mum. And sort of, it's just lovely. And we've done some book signings, and we even had a little queue at one point, which has been just lovely. So it has been, the realising of the ambition has been fantastic, actually, which is a lot of why you would write a book, actually. It's about getting a story that we think is fun and entertaining and represents women like us in this genre, which hasn't been shown before, but also having a great time. We've laughed more in the last 18 months when we've been doing this than we can remember in a long time. It's been hilarious.
Cool, never mind the Botox, can't wait to read it. On the way this afternoon on BBC Radio Manchester, Joe Stilgo, son of Richard Stilgo and an opera singer, so you won't be surprised to hear that he's a jazz performer. He's coming up next.